Great question. Who is threatening who? The Labour Party and Mr. Peter Obi and Yunus Satanko have said in the public domain that you threatened Peter Obi, his family members, his associates, by saying that he has crossed the line of truth, he allegedly said, and that he should be prepared for what he will get, and whatever he gets, he should manage it. What is he going to get for, exercising his freedom of free speech? And now the APC has also turned around to say that you yourself are now being threatened by an online mob who has threatened you, who has phoned you, who has threatened members of your family. Because now we're dealing with the politics of threats in Nigeria, which should be a major step back for our democracy. If we could just clarify these two sides of the controversy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bati. You just played back the tape of the interview I had with this station, in which a very specific question was put to me. And the question, because when you play the tape, it's important for the viewers to understand the question I was responding to. I was not speaking in a vacuum. I was responding to a very specific question put to me during that interview by your colleague. And the question was this: you have hit back with a volley of attacks, calling Peter Obi a prophet of doom. Some of you have said he is always embarking on voodoo economics that are not in line with the current realities. Do you think this is a slingshot that has gone beyond normal politicking? Now, everything I said in my answer, including the last sentence which you referenced, was in direct and exclusive response to the reference to Peter Obi as a prophet of doom or as engaging in economics. So, in other words, my answer was, if Peter Obi was called a prophet of doom or was called a voodoo economist, he has it coming to him because he has crossed several lines of truth. End of story. End of story. There's nothing else to suggest in those words that I said in the moment of an interview that, saying Peter Obi has been, speaking a lot of, falsehood, quite frankly.
He says he has received death threats.
From who exactly?
Could it be that your statement was a form of incitement, to pro-tinubu, pro-administration persons?
No. You see, he who alleges must prove. If Peter Obi says anyone threatened him, he must, beyond just saying I've been threatened, Peter Obi, I think he, for a man in his standing, he should adduce or, supply some evidence of those who threaten him. Because if anyone threatened Peter Obi, we shouldn't be having a conversation in your studio. The law enforcement system should be looking for those who threatened Peter Obi's life. So, but the point, I want to make two major points. One is that I, Felix Mouka, did not threaten Peter Obi. Nothing I said in that interview begins to even suggest remotely that, Peter Obi, I was asking anything other than saying to the man who was asking me a question, he said, you guys are calling him prophet of doom or, voodoo economist. And I said, well, what, if that is what it's called, he has, he deserves it because he's crossed the line of truth. Now, I don't know by what medium or by what, effort do you then transmogrify that conversation into a threat to Obi's life and the life of his family or those around him.
Okay,
that is libel in the extreme.
I know Mr. Obi likes to quote figures from Bangladesh, from India, from China, but that's not what we're talking about. Let's move to the second leg of it. Has anybody threatened you? Because your own party is saying you have been threatened. And who are those people who have threatened you? How?
Actually,
because you two are alleged. Absolutely. You should also prove.
As it turns out, Peter Obi's allegation that the words I spoke in that interview threatened his life. Now, immediately, as I speak, I have documented no less than 400 threats, about 200 of which, over 200 of which are death threats. Documented. I'm not talking about people these are written texts that I have carefully documented and which, I'm providing to the law enforcement agencies, or people really telling me how they, graphically describing how they intend to take me out, to shoot me, behead me in graphic language. You see, this is not a joke. And it's gone further to some members of my family who have also been, threatened directly. I'm not speaking about just, suggesting in graphic, language. You see, but, I'm not concerned about that because, what has triggered this entire insanity cannot be attributed to me. I did not threaten Peter Obi. And so anybody who is threatening me, that is their decision to do so. But, I hope that our law enforcement system will respond as effectively as possible to also, bring those individuals to justice.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm really sorry that you're having to go through death threats. It's unfortunate and sad that this is what politics in Nigeria has, descended to. However, going back to Dr. Abati's first question, I don't think you responded to that clearly. It was on this station you made the statement, and I would read the statement back to you.
Yes.
And you have an opportunity now to clarify that statement. In all the statements I've seen you, and including statements from your party members, they've only just said you did not threaten. But the big question is, clarify what you mean so that it's not ambiguous, it's not open to misinterpretation. You said he has crossed the line so many times and has it coming to him whatever he gets. What did you mean by that statement?
Look, I think I did that science actually, but let me clarify that. Now, in the statement that I put out yesterday in response to this allegation, I was very clear. Now, first of all, what I meant in the context of the question, because you can't think about crossing the line outside of the question I was responding to. I didn't come to make an independent statement. I was asking the question. You just asked me a question, I'm responding now.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I said, and I stand by what I said, which is that the question was, you called, or APC has called Peter Obi, and by the way, the issue of prophet of doom was not my word. Let me just be clear. In my statement, responding to Peter Obi's New Year message, I said that based on his extreme pessimism, he's starting to become Nigeria's leading doomsayer. That was what I said. And what is a doomsayer? Check any dictionary. It talks about somebody who is, intently pessimistic. That's my language. But, the media, because people are more familiar with prophet of doom than doomsayer, it became prophet of doom. Okay, that was the language that the interviewer put to me. And I said, simply, you have called Peter Obi doomsayer. And I answered, if he has been called doomsayer or prophet of doom, he deserves it because he has crossed the line of truth so many times. That is the open and shut, point that was made in that interview. It was a response to, you called Peter Obi, prophet of doom. And I said, well, yes, he's been called prophet of doom because he is, peddled a lot of false narratives.
Has it coming?
Yes, meaning
has it coming to him?
Prophet of doom, whatever name he's called in this context, prophet of doom, voodoo economist, or economist voodoo, or doom prophet, he has it coming. Meaning that is simply an English language expression. And quite frankly, I think that, like you said, in our politics today, I know that partisanship can be, intensely polarizing. But when you speak about people's lives, we shouldn't commonize it.
Absolutely.
I'm Felix Mouka. Of what use? I'm not in competition with Peter Obi. I am not running for president today. Peter Obi is not my opponent. Felix Mouka versus Peter Obi. I don't have anything that I'm challenging Peter Obi or he's challenging me about. I speak for my party. When Peter Obi comes on national television on a New Year Day and reels out a lot of facts that I consider to be misleading, it is my duty as the national spokesman of APC to clarify. And in my statement, there was nothing condescending. I simply said, you got it wrong. Because, for instance, crossing the line of truth means, in Peter Obi's campaign to be president, he said, on day one, I'm going to take out fuel subsidy. Tinubu took out fuel subsidy on day one. Peter Obi has continued to lambast Tinubu. And I said, on that score, hey, you are crossing the line of truth. You also promised to do the same thing. On the issue of harmonizing the dual exchange rate, Obi promised to harmonize dual exchange rate. Tinubu harmonized dual exchange rate. Obi has continued to lambast Tinubu about it. And I said, you are crossing the line of truth. On the issue of national security, or on the issue of youth employment, everything Peter Obi promised he was going to do, this president is, trying the best he can to do it. And I'm simply pointing out, when as a statesman, you want to discuss, the national fortunes or misfortune, it behoves on you, even when your interest lies more in advancing a false narrative or a negative narrative, because it makes you look like an alternative to what you consider negative. But you must do so with some level of, truth and facts, even if it's not truth, because truth can be relative. But at least facts can be a bit more objective, be factual. So if we say, for example, that on your show this morning, you did say that, inflows into Nigeria has risen by 60. That's an objective fact.
The fact
right?
of the poverty numbers, were they factual or not?
No. Because
Nigerians, 100 million Nigerians in poverty.
No, let me address that.
Multidimensional poverty. Was that fact?
See, as of 1999, 2001, 2011, over 45-48% of Nigerians were living in, in multi-dimensional poverty.
Currently, are they?
My point to you,
yes.
If I'm not here to, I'm not again, I'm not going to be, talking about figures and what is accurate and what is not.
Talk about facts.
What I'm saying is that even if let's assume without conceding that the figures Peter Obi put out as those who are living in, the point I'm making in response is that long before Asiwaju thought of becoming president or running for president, a number that is very similar of Nigerians were living in multi-dimensional poverty. In other words, it didn't happen yesterday. And by the way, even if Nigeria, everything about what Peter Obi said, Nigeria started to turn the corner, everything started to look up, we're creating more employment. That is, data, statistics takes a minimum of at least 10 years to reverse. You will not see any impact for at least 10 years. Those are long-term statistical, gestational period for evolution, for you to change that. So it doesn't happen in 18 months. It doesn't. And that's my point.
Right. So you said that you're challenging facts or the misrepresentation of facts.
Correct.
Is in essence, that's your duty. However, what we saw was an attack on a person, not an attack on facts. And this is the issue. So for you to exonerate yourself and say, I didn't start this, when Peter Obi's New Year's address very clearly addressed the issues. But yes, you say you were responding to a question. However, you're trained in this field and you could have turned your response into an address of the facts. My question to you is, why are we seeing this culture of toxic rhetoric from the spokespeople of this administration, not just from yourself, there's several of you who, who speak on behalf of this administration. Last time it was Olusegun Obasanjo who was told that, he's not even a worthy statesman to make this kind of statement on another issue. Another opportunity, it's Atiku Abubakar. Who is he to say all of this? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Why is there a culture of attacking the messenger as opposed to just dealing with the data?
No, I think you're getting this slightly wrong, if I must say. Now, if you read my statement in response to Peter Obi's statement, it had nothing but laying out those indicators of progress that I spoke about. That's it, Mr. Obi. While it's okay for you to see the economy and see Nigeria from your own, lens, it's important that you recognize certain objective, facts. For instance, in your studio here this morning, you did put out some information. Mr. Rotusu does a fantastic job. Says, look, that inflows into Nigeria has, gone up over the last year by nearly 63%. That is a fact. So, if I am, trying to speak to the economy and that issue, I will acknowledge that, while this is going on, there's a whole lot more to be done. Now, to say that everything is becoming worse by the day, that is factually incorrect. Now, let me say this. In my statement, from the beginning of my statement to the end of my statement, it was all about facts. The first paragraph was where I acknowledged what Peter Obi said. Otherwise, I simply gave examples of what I thought were positive indications that the policies of this government were moving in the right direction.
He's not entitled to sharing his own experience. His experience are that things are getting worse. Is he not entitled to sharing the truth of his reality?
He is.
Why do we attack people for sharing their reality?
Peter Obi is entitled to share his, understanding and his views and his own, if you say his reality, that's fine. But look, what I'm saying is that when Mr. Obi, when the president or the government puts out, its own record, and Peter Obi feels entitled, as you're suggesting, and I agree with you, that every Nigerian has a right to form their own opinion and, speak to it, no problem. But if Mr. Obi is entitled to speak his opinion to the president's or the government's own, narrative, what stops anybody else, including Felix Mouka, under our constitution, the liberty to also say to Peter Obi, just like he is saying to the president and to the government, that you are not doing the right thing? What stops me in my own exercise of my constitutional freedom to say to Mr. Obi, actually, in your own pushback, your narrative, you are actually also getting it wrong. You see, I'm a human rights lawyer. Human rights and this entitlement to free speech is available to all of us. It's not exclusive to Mr. Obi or to me or to you or to Dr. Bati. It's available to all of us as human beings, as citizens. So when Mr. Obi, critiques a position of government or a record of government, Mr. Obi should also be calm when others critique his own narrative, because these are competing narratives, and we're in a political society where competing narratives are, people who are listening will choose. What do I believe? Do I believe that things are getting better, or do I believe that things are getting worse? That competition is a necessary aspect of our democracy, and the right to challenge each of the narratives is also a concomitant right that we possess as citizens.
Look, I get your point about the right to free speech and how no right under Chapter 4 of the Constitution is absolute. Your right begins where my own stops. That's clear enough. But two quick things. Now, LP, Labour Party and APC are the ones fighting now. But are you aware that the PDP presidential candidate, Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar, has also intervened in this matter? And he specifically accuses the APC administration of trying to stifle the voice of the opposition. And that the words you use in criticizing Mr. Peter Obi were derogatory, inflammatory. And, such words, he says, should not be used in decent community. That is Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. So it's not just about Labour Party versus APC. It's not just about Felix Mouka versus Peter Obi. And then the second leg of it, and I need you to pay attention to this. You said Mr. Peter Obi is sponsoring a mob of reckless people who are defaming people, attacking people, bullying people, threatening people on social media and everywhere. A headless mob of bullies. Are you referring to the obedience? And I would like you to comment further on that characterization of this mob that you say Peter Obi is sponsoring. And now that mob poses a threat to the administration and to society.
Thank you. As for the former vice president and his intervention in this matter, I am certain that the former vice president has neither played back the tape of that conversation nor reviewed the transcription, the verbatim written transcription of that clip. I don't think he has done so, because if he did so, I would be surprised and disappointed that the former vice president would say the things he has said in relation to this matter. Dr. Bassey, that's not my word. I'm suggesting that he has not reviewed. But I want to assume that he has not reviewed the clip, watched the clip, nor considered the text, the translation, the verbatim transcription of that clip. If he has done so, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he will not come to the conclusion that he did. Somebody may have just told him, this is what Peter Obi has said, and he decided to respond without, any due diligence to understand exactly what was said. So I'm willing to grant him the benefit of the doubt, because, if I truly believe that he said that, then I would again, be utterly disappointed in the former vice president. Now, but again, whatever he has to say or he has said, are entirely his personal opinions, and that's fine. Now, on the second part of your question, yes, I have been threatened by those who, even in the messages, profess loyalty to Peter Obi, who has said to me directly that this, what you've said, we believe constitutes a threat to Peter Obi's life. Even when I put out information initially before my statement yesterday on the APC handle, providing the verbatim translation or transcription of what I said, I put that out and with the clip, relevant clip, so that you can listen and read. That has not persuaded them to get, an enlightened perspective of that conversation. Now, yes, these are people who profess loyalty to Peter Obi. Now, if I have followers who go around threatening, Felix Mouka or anyone else for that matter, I would, call them to order and say, look, hey, this is not necessary. I will, speak, even when I feel like this individual has said something I don't appreciate, I would still say to them, do not do this. But, so far, Peter Obi was quick to, claim that my words threatened his life and that of his family falsely, according to me. However, up until now, even though I have said publicly that these followers of his are threatening my life and that of my family, I have not seen anything by way of a reprimand or a call for stay on the part of Mr. Obi.
In that regard, if I may comment, now I'm aware that Dr. Yunus Atanko, the spokesperson for the Labour Party, and also Mr. Peter Obi himself, they both pointed out that there's a difference between the Labour Party and the obedience.
Oh.
I think one of them had said that the obedience constitutes a movement over which neither Peter Obi or Yusuf Tanko has any control. Okay. So will it not be too much for you to expect that Peter Obi can talk to a movement over which he has no control? They seem to have a mind of their own.
Dr. Bassey, you, more than anyone else in this country, you're one of those people who follow, who understand what's going on in this country, and you've been in the system. Mr. Bassey, can you imagine this president, any group of supporters who are directly or remotely affiliated with this president, who tomorrow will go out to threaten people's lives? Can you, would you truly, realistically expect that Mr. Obi and Labour Party and the obedience, who clearly are driven by him, would say, oh, no, these ones who are Tinubu supporters are not, don't hold Tinubu responsible, don't suggest that he has any leverage with them to say, hey, stay. And when he doesn't do that, they will simply exculpate him and say, Mr. Tinubu, well done. Despite what the distinction you try to draw, I believe, and I think most Nigerians believe, that obedience, after what's obedience? Obedience are people who say they are obedient to Peter Obi. I mean, we're not going to argue about that. In any event, my point is that whether he calls them to order or not, I'm simply just underscoring what I believe to be, I think a departure from the duty of those who claim that they are statesmen, who bear a higher responsibility more than, some of us who are lesser mortals in this society of ours.
All right. Okay, just very quickly, to go back to my question around the statements made and just factual. You're not the president's spokesperson. You're the National Publicity Secretary of the APC. The APC has been in government for 8 years and counting. So these 10 years you say is actually under the APC government. So it means that it's an APC administration that plunged Nigerians into the poverty levels that we see today. So he can exonerate the current president, but it's also a president under the APC that under his administration, 133 million Nigerians are said to be multidimensionally poor. So it's the same thing. So whether it's the Buhari administration, the Tinubu administration is under the APC, Nigerians are poorer. True or false? Because let's deal with the issues now. Because, away from Mr. Peter Obi, Nigerians are saying that they're hungry. People are in multidimensional poverty. What do you have to say about that? So would you, yeah, and then I'll ask on a final note, if for the sake of peace, so that we can, at least one person would extend the olive branch, would you say, as a result of perhaps your statement being misconstrued, an apology for the statement you made whilst you were here, that you will get because you've now clarified it, but at least apologize so that the people who had been going to make threats would then go, at least you wouldn't also be accused of leading a headless mob, or people who are threatening Mr. Peter Obi and the Labour Party, members. So two things on that one. First, just an assessment of your administration. 8 years now under the Tinubu, as quickly as possible, please. Because we talk about 10 years, it was under the APC administration.
No, let me say this. Your question creates a context as though Nigeria began 8 years ago.
No, but you're the one who said the poverty level.
I was talking about the statistical period and gestation. What I'm saying is that your question almost frames a context that Nigeria started 8 years ago or 10 years ago. It didn't. The Buhari administration came on top of nearly 2 decades of governance by the then ruling party.
It's 2 decades as well now. Oh, it's 1 decade now. Going to 1 decade of administration.
So the Buhari administration was a corrective government. And correct it did as it did.
By plunging Nigerians into poverty?
No. Now, are you suggesting that Nigeria had no poverty? There was no poverty in this country?
More people
before,
got...
No,
because we have to deal with facts here. No, we have to deal with facts here, Mr. Mouka. The facts are out there.
No, hang on.
More Nigerians were plunged into poverty under the APC administration.
Okay, can I ask you a simple question? Do you have the data of the Nigerians who lived in multidimensional poverty as of 2015?
Under the Jonathan administration, it was less than 70%. Under the Buhari...
70%?
Yes, less.
Than 70% of Nigerian population?
Yes. Under the Buhari administration, it was over 70%, and at some point, Nigeria was actually ranking high as the poverty capital of the world. So I think that's just fact out there. I'm not saying that in terms of what you said.
But you see what you say. If you take the 10-year parameter you just mentioned,
yes.
So take it that in 10 years of the 10 years of the PDP administration before 2015,
yes,
that Nigeria did not move anywhere. Because if, as of 2015, no. You see, you think about what I'm saying, please.
Okay.
Think about what I'm saying. If we, let's say, for the sake of this conversation, we're not economists, right? So let's say that 10 years is that period where we say whatever the gestation period for transformation of that data takes 10 years. It means that if 70% of Nigerians were living in multi-dimensional poverty as of 2015, it means that 10 years prior.
Yes, it was your administration that plunged more Nigerians into poverty.
Yeah, let's say 69%. Living in multidimensional poverty as of 2015. What I'm saying is that 20 years of the PDP did not radically, that's 2 frames of data era, did not radically help this country reduce poverty. Now, the next 10 years that you're referring to, that people like to refer to, of the Buhari administration, now added to the Tinubu administration, when you say that this APC administration of, let's say, the last 8-9 years is the reason Nigeria has the figure you read out of people who are living in multi-dimensional poverty, that is actually disingenuous. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry to say what you're saying.
That is not economics. That's just being disingenuous. I'm so sorry about that.
It is the facts are out there. The Buhari administration plunged more Nigerians into poverty, but we need to go.
Completely manipulated facts. It doesn't bear witness to the conclusion you're trying to give.
All the indices are there, but
it doesn't.
Thank you very much for joining us. On the morning show.
Thank you so much.
The conversation will continue.
Thank you.
This is politics. Occupational hazard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see, Felix Mouka, before I even start, Ayo, don't let me insult you. I like you. Don't let me insult you. Why did you tell Felix Mouka sorry for receiving threat. Who is Felix Mouka? I did tell him sorry for receiving threat. He who threatens somebody, so he doesn't know that he's going to get the same thing back. May God punish Felix Mouka. I like this, the other lady, what she said. According to Oji, we say our favorite Nigeria wife. I like it. I like the question she put forward to Felix Mouka. Say, why are you guys always attacking the messenger and not the message? Why are you guys always attacking the messenger and not the message? Not attacking the message, addressing the issues somebody raised. Everything Peter Obi said on that interview, New Year message, they are true. Now you are there. You are now you see, Shebi, I said it on my video. I said Felix Mouka was drunk before he comes to that interview where he crossed line. He say he crossed line, not Peter Obi. You see now, he doesn't know what to say. You want to define, explain your meaning. You see, he's confused. He doesn't know what he's saying. He thinks say now only you get mad. Only you get mad to threaten somebody who go kill you there. He who threatens somebody also we also receive. He who threatens you expect somebody else is to threaten you. Not only you get power, even if you now your government get the controls of everything. Waiting they worry you.